instant of rustling, and the lizard vanished. "Don't leave on my account," she addressed the seemingly empty crevice. "I'm just passing through." Anna dug a plastic water jug from the side pocket of her backpack and unscrewed the cap. Yellow pulp bobbed to the top. Next time she wouldn't put lemon slices in. The experiment had failed. After a few days, the acid taste grew tiresome. Besides, it gave her a vague feeling of impropriety, as if she were drinking from her finger bowl. Smiling inwardly at the thought, Anna drank. Finger bowls, Manhattan, were miles and years away from her now. Molly and AT&T, her only remaining connections. The water was body temperature, just the way she liked it. Ice water jarred her fillings, chilled her insides. "If it's cold, it had better be beer," she would tell the waitress at Lucy's in Carlsbad. Sometimes she'd get warm water, sometimes a cold Tecate. It depended on who was on shift that day. Either way, Anna drank it. In the high desert of West Texas, moisture was quickly sucked from the soft flesh of unprotected humans. No spines, she thought idly. No waxy green skin. Nothing to keep us from drying up and blowing away. She took another pull at the water and amused herself with the image of tumbling, ass over tea kettle, like a great green and gray stickerweed across the plains to the south. Capping the water, she looked down at the reason she had stopped. The neatly laid pile of scat between her feet. It was her best hope yet, and she'd been scrambling over rocks and through cactus since dawn. Every spring and fall, rangers in the Guadalupe Mountains followed paths through the high country chosen by wildlife biologists. These transects, carefully selected trails cutting across the park's wilderness, were searched for mountain lion sign. Any that was found was measured, photographed, and recorded, so the resource management team could keep track of the cougars in the park. Where were they? Was the population healthy? Squatting down, Anna examined her find. The scat was by no means fresh, but it was full of hair, and the ends twisted promisingly. Whatever had excreted it had been dining on small furry creatures. She took calipers out of the kit that contained all her transect tools. Camera, 5x7 cards with places for time, date, location, and weather conditions under which the sign was found, data sheet to record the size of the specimen, and type of film used for the photograph. The center segment of this SUS, standard unit of sign, was 25 millimeters in diameter, almost big enough for an adult cat. Still, it wasn't lion scat. This was Anna's second mountain lion transect in 2 weeks without so much as one lion sign. No tracks, no scrapes, no scat. 20 of the beautiful cats had been radio-collared, and in less than 3 years, all but 2 had left the park or slipped their colors, disappeared from the radio scanner's range somehow. Ranchers around the Guadalupes swore the park was a breeding ground for the varmints, and that cattle were being slaughtered by the cats. But Anna had never so much as glimpsed a mountain lion in the 2 years she'd been a law enforcement ranger at Guadalupe. And she spent more than half her time wandering the high country, sitting under the ponderosa pines, walking the white limestone trails, lying under the limitless Texas sky. Never had she seen a cougar, and if wishing and waiting and watching could have made it so, prides of the great padding beasts would have crossed her path. This, between her feet, was probably coyote scat. Because she hated to go home empty-handed, Anna dutifully measured, recorded, and photographed the little heap of dung. She wished all wild creatures were as adaptable as the coyote. Trickster, the Indians called him. Indeed he must be to thrive so close to man. Piled next to the coyote's mark was the unmistakable reddish, berry-filled scat of the ring-tailed cat. "My ravine," it declared. "My canyon. I was here second." Anna laughed. "Your canyon," she agreed aloud. "I'm for home." Stretching tired muscles, she craned her neck in a backward arc. Overhead, just to the east, vultures turned tight circles, corkscrewing up from the creek bed between the narrow walls of the Middle McKittrick Canyon where she hiked. 11 of the big birds spun in a lazy whirlwind of beaks and feathers. Whatever they hovered over was hidden from view by the steep cliffs of the Permian Reef. A scrap of rotting carrion the size of a goose egg drew vultures, but 11? 11 was too many. "Damn," Anna whispered. A deer had probably broken a leg and coyotes had gotten it. Probably. A 12th winged form joined the hungry, waiting dance. Damn. Anna pulled up her pack and shrugged into it. "You can have your rock back," she addressed the apparently empty crevice, and started down the canyon. While she'd been sitting, the glaring white of the stones that formed the floor of Middle McKittrick Canyon had been softened to pale gold. Shadows were growing long. Lizards crept to the top of the rocks to catch the last good sun of the day. A tarantula, the size of a woman's hand, the most horrifying of gentle creatures, wandered slowly across Anna's path. "As a park ranger, I will protect and serve you." She talked to the creature from a safe 3 yards away. "But we'll never be friends. Is that going to be a problem?" The tarantula stopped, its front pair of legs feeling the air. Then it turned and walked slowly toward her, each of its legs appearing to move independently of the other 7. "Yes, I see that it is." Glad there were no visitors to witness her absurdity, Anna stepped aside and gave the magnificent bug a wider berth than science or good sense would have deemed necessary. Half a mile further down the canyon, the walls began to narrow around boulders the size of Volkswagens. Anna scrambled and jumped from one to the next. Middle McKittrick was an excellent place to break an ankle or a neck. Join the buzzards' buffet. The sun slipped lower, and the canyon filled with shadow. In the sudden cooling, a breeze sprang up, carrying with it a new smell. Not the expected sickly sweet odor of rotting flesh, but the fresh smell of water, unmistakable in the desert, always startling. One never grew accustomed to miracles. Energized, Anna walked on. The walls became steeper, towering more than 60 feet above the creek. A rugged hillside of catclaw and agave showed dark above the pale cliffs. The boulders that littered Upper McKittrick were no longer in evidence. In the canyon's heart, Anna walked on smooth limestone. Over the ages, water had scoured a deep trough, then travertine, percolating out of the solution, lined it with a natural cement. Not a good place to be caught during the Texas monsoons in July and August. Each time she walked this transect in search of cougar sign, Anna had that same thought. And each time she had the same perverse stab of excitement, hoping one day to see the power and the glory that could roll half a mountain aside as it thundered through. The smell of water grew stronger, and mixed with the sighing and sawing of the wind, she could hear its delicate music. Potholes began pitting the stream bed, signs of recent flooding. Recent in geological time, far too long to wait for a drink. Some of the scoured pits were 30 feet across and 20 feet deep. A litter of leaves and bones lay at the bottom of the one